Welcome to the final session of today that stands in between you and cocktails outside. But my name is Kellie McElhaney, and I am a professor here at Haas. I am the founding faculty director of the Center for Responsible Business. Woo-hoo. And I teach courses in the area of corporate responsibility, corporate sustainability, and about a year ago moved into a newer area which looks at the linkage between women and business leadership. But you're not going to hear from me today. We have such an exciting show. Lots of technology, lots of difficulty. Let me give you, so we are all doing this. Let me give you a sense of from whom you're going to hear today. You're going to hear from CEOs, a former raider, from a Russian, a seaman, from some venture capitalists, some founders, a single mom, a Canadian, and a Pole. They're going to talk to you about just various things like decadence, getting sued, touchy-feely, Twitter, seamen, handcuffs, underwear, gardens, and challenging traditions. So I really don't think you're going to be disappointed. This is Haas's very own version of TED. So if you've been to TED Talks, this is not TEDx, this is HaasX. So it's going to be fast-paced, no time for Q&A because we have 13 speakers who have 5 minutes each. But there'll be lots of time for Q&A over drinks just at the end. So don't forget to tweet out. We even have a speaker from Twitter, so it would even help him to think that his technology is very useful. If you tweet out, and our Twitter handle is #HaasReunion. So I have organized the 13 speakers today into the 4 Haas defining principles because I thought that was just such a great reflection of our school. And we're going to start with what I think Haasites do the best, which is question the status quo. So our first speaker for HaasX is Phenner. He is a BCEMBA from 03. He is the head of Midwest Unified, and his topic is decadence and social media a decade later.
Give me one moment to get my slides moving along with my voice. We good? Sorry about that. And go. Please allow me to introduce myself. Yes. Hey, here's a starter. Tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of iTunes. Does anyone here use iTunes? This is the last raise of hands question you will get in this presentation. But happy birthday to iTunes. I want to introduce myself. I'm neither a man of wealth or taste. I have a long years. I have a Forrest Gump type career through the internet where I've sold a browser, I've slung ads for Rolling Stone, a magazine I read since age 10. I was sued out of a job I loved right before I came to business school here as the 8th employee of the first Napster. I worked for what I think of as the first app store over at CNET across the bridge while I went to the Berkeley Columbia program, which heavily informed where I am now. Audible.com and I were together when podcasting hit, and that sent that place sideways and ultimately, I think in ways, into the arms of Amazon. And then more recently, I lived in New York and spent 6 years running business development for a company called Thumbplay, which today makes up the underlying platform you may know as iHeartRadio, and it was acquired by Clear Channel. And this was my decadent time as a BD guy on behalf of direct-to-consumer media. And along the way, this is 6 weeks ago, this is a brag moment. I just got a patent, if that's any indication of how ineffective 8.4 million and some came before me, but I got in there. When I joined and was in Berkeley Columbia's program, this is what the LinkedIn site looked like. And above is the date when I joined up, and by no means was I the first. I was somewhere in the 46,000th to do so. If in the URL of your own LinkedIn profile, you can learn what number you are. And it's not a contest, kind of. Today, this is me, as expressed through social media. I was a 60 like 10 days ago, and now I'm a 59, and I think a lot of that has to do with preparing for this talk. Thank you. What happens when you go on vacation? We're being measured across all kinds of social networks. I don't really have that many compared to what they ask you to potentially sign up for. But I'm a father now of Will, that's a few years old. So some things have happened and I've grown up some. Now decadence speaks to a decline mostly, especially of moral, ethical, and sexual behavior and traditions. This is what Wikipedia tells us decadence looks like. This is an imperial Roman orgy. This is the Claremont at 10 p.m. Maybe. Now, I grew up in a period between my ages of 10 and 20. The decade of decadence I grew up along with is, I think, encapsulated only by Motley Crue's Best Of album cover here. So that's kind of the sophisticated place I came from. When I was at Napster, this is the 2000 Webby Awards, me pulling a Stanley Cup moment that I woke up the next day to open the San Francisco Chronicle to find. I have almost no memory of this happening, but it was a great, great night. And we know what happened with Napster. And so I needed to change things. I need to grow myself up here. So here we are going to Berkeley, Columbia. They taught me about math I hadn't heard of before, but it seemed like it was important. And I entered a platform with my colleague Will in the front row, and we became the first Berkeley Columbia Business Plan finalist for a search-based platform. And this is what the industry looks like today. It's a complete mess. And programmatic media buying is what is driving a lot of it. And it means that ads are being bought and sold in more places, faster, and in more real time than ever. And this is what I've seen today. I'm a little more grown up now. I'm a social media platform seller for a company called Unified. And these are some of the things I've seen and have access to in the form of data. And I represent a world that sits across many of the social ecosystems. I do want y'all to remember three things, because I'm a social media practitioner now. And you got three things. You have an audience already. You know more about them whether you actually know it or not, thanks to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and StumbleUpon and Pinterest and YouTube and Foursquare and Discuss, and you see where I'm going. What I think you should think of yourself as is a newsroom, because you can't escape the news feed. Everybody has a mother, and every brand has a news feed, and you need to be in it. And there are moments worth measuring, and if you can amplify them better than anyone else, and I can help you do that, this is my call to action with 0 on the clock. Send an email right now if what I say is interesting with the subject line decadent, and let's have fun tonight, people. Thank you very much.
I told you it's going to be fun. Thank you, Forrest. I wanted to say run, Forrest, run. Our next speaker is Priya Haji. She's a fantastic woman, an MBA 03. She is the CEO and co-founder of SaveUp, and her topic is around path-bending leadership, challenging the traditional. Priya.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm super honored to be here and to have the opportunity to speak with you today. The reason I do this more than anything else is because one of the things that I believe Haas is all about is about path-bending leadership and about each of us living and creating the world as it could be rather than just the way it is. And Haas is a place that's been instrumental to me in helping me do that. But I think that potential in each of us needs to get poked and stimulated and challenged. And I believe that there's a great idea in this room that could get realized because of something you hear today. So I'm here because I believe in you. So, you know, for me, I think my story is that we all grow up a certain way with certain ideas and predispositions of what life is going to be or how your life is going to grow up. I grew up from an Indian immigrant family. My mom's from India, my dad's from East Africa, in a small town in Texas, very Baptist, very traditional. And I was raised to be a good Indian girl, and I thought I was going to be a very good Indian doctor. And, you know, as life came into being, I had a chance to live it very, very differently, and in a way that I feel like has now, at this point in my life, I feel more potent, more capable, more impactful into the world than I could have ever imagined, even though that life was so understood and careful. And so I think when we find ourselves doing the things that others expect us to do, there's so much power in looking at how we could think about it differently. In my career, I've done that in a lot of ways. Mostly, I'm a social entrepreneur, and I love looking at big problems and trying to figure out if we can create innovative solutions. So I started my first startup actually in high school with my dad, was a free health clinic. Then I did one that is a national model program for substance abuse treatment and affordable housing and HIV and AIDS prevention for African Americans and Latinos. That one's still running. And then I came to Haas, and then I got the tools to realize how social entrepreneurship could be mixed with business. And out of Haas, built a company with one of my classmates, Siddharth, who's amazing. And we built a company that helps small-scale artisans with sustainable goods and distribution in the US. That company is now part of eBay and continuing to grow and help thousands of people around the world. And in a week where something like Bangladesh is in the news, I'm very grateful that I was part of building a different way of doing business and helping large companies to establish that, just like my friend at PACT, who's going to talk in a few minutes. And I think one of the things that I'm working on now, which is really exciting, is that the internet has changed dramatically. This next generation of young people interact in a way that is so different. Social games, social media, everything you just heard about. And what we're doing at SaveUp is we've actually harnessed that new kind of technology into a whole new way of managing personal finances. We've created a game, literally, where the more you save money and the more you pay down your debt, you link your real accounts just like you would to Mint, if you've heard of Mint. You actually get the chance to win prizes, and the largest prize is $2 million. There's cars, vacations, gift cards, and if you can believe it, it's actually a business model. It has real brands, real sponsors, real cash flows, and we partner with financial institutions to distribute it, and we also reach out to all kinds of communities across the United States, and our goal right now is to build this company to reach millions of people and change the way that financial services thinks about working with people. Let's reward people to achieve their goals and help them to do it rather than just rewarding them when they buy things. So that's really the vision of SaveUp and what we're aiming to do. But I think part of being and living path-bending leadership, especially as a woman in business, isn't just about the way you live your professional life. And as an entrepreneur myself, this past few years has been a big step in my life because I also, as a good Indian girl, never got married and decided I didn't want to miss out on having kids. And so this past year, I actually became a mom. I'm pregnant 5 months now, but I did it on my own. And I used a donor, and I'm a very happy mother. It was, of course, a lot of thinking and a lot of process that went into that, but it's been the best decision. And I think what I want to say to all of you in the audience is whatever that thing is inside that you know is in the world the way it could be, instead of the world the way it is, that you should reach for it and be unafraid, because that's what Haas is all about. Thank you.
So we have one more speaker under questioning the status quo, and that's Keith Eady. He's MBA 08. He is the Vice President of Marketing for Tube Mogul, and he's going to speak about startup marketing. Get loud, get sued, get noticed. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Kellie. Well, good afternoon. As Kellie said, Keith Eady, VP of Marketing at Tube Mogul. Tube Mogul was started here about 6 years ago, so it's always good to come back and tell a little bit of an update story about how we're doing, and we're still okay even though we're getting sued. So, crazy title, let me start here. 99% of your marketing, whether you're a multinational or a startup, should be positive. It should be about your benefits. It should talk to your customers from their perspective, and ideally be educational. I am not here to talk about that type of marketing. I'm here to talk about the 1% of marketing. This is the marketing they don't teach in MBA school. This is marketing that's controversial, insanely bold, and often just downright aggressive. At 2Mogul, we've got a saying, a mantra we try to live by. If you're not pissing someone off, you're probably not innovating. So I'm going to tell you a little story about how we pissed someone off in marketing and use this 1% marketing concept to tackle a problem we were facing in the market. Let me start with a little bit of quick background so you understand where we're going. We work in a bit of a weird world, similar to Chris, this programmatic media buying. We're a video ad technology company. We sit between big brand advertisers and the media agencies that work with those brand advertisers, and we help them get their video ads onto thousands of sites all across the internet. It's a space that's growing about 50 to 80% a year, so that attracts competitors. Many of these competitors are 2 to 3 times bigger than we are, have raised 2 to 3 times more amount of money, so we need to be creative with our marketing to rise above this crowded space and get noticed. Most of what we sell is this ad unit that many of you will be familiar with called pre-roll. It's the 15 or 30 seconds ad that you have to watch when you want to watch a piece of content on ESPN or the New York Times or whatever. We ran into a problem about 1.5 years ago. We were getting undercut on this ad unit by 30 to 40% in the marketplace. And we basically buy the same inventory from the same sites. The costs are generally the same. We did a little digging. What we found out is what was happening essentially amounted to fraud. Advertisers were selling this pre-roll to big brands, or sorry, our competitors were selling this ad unit to big brand advertisers and delivering it in these crappy little ad units that are scattered all over at pages where they actually autoplay the ad when you load the page. And then they play a little bit of content, then they loop the ad again. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ad impressions the brand pays for, and of course they think they're buying the other thing. So, and obviously this is way less expensive for our competitors to buy and resell. That's how they were undercutting us. So, of course, I started with a 99% marketing. I create this beautiful slide that looks like it was hacked by the Easter Bunny, but it had the right idea. And I go on the road and I tell anybody, I tell anybody who will listen about this issue, and it's nuanced, and no one really cares. So I'm getting nowhere. So what do? I create a site called fakepreroll.com. And I'm going to name and shame my competitors who are doing this and defrauding the brands out of their money. So the first one we put up is a McDonald's ad. This is a screenshot we took, and we had hundreds of these screenshots. But this is a screenshot of a McDonald's ad running below the fold, sound off, and I can get the server logs of any of these and show which competitor was serving this ad. So this got someone's attention. The head of digital at McDonald's calls his account director at OMD, his media agency. That media director calls our CEO, wondering why we're making his life a living hell. And of course, we get a cease and desist from Yumi, who's really pissed off. We impugn their brand equity. What gets more fun is before we've even put up another post, I get a cease and desist from another competitor and another competitor who know I'm gunning for them and have also hundreds of screenshots of them doing this. So we leave it up for about a week, but it gets kind of legally messy, so we take it down. We've made our point. In a, 2Mogul law of marketing, gotta have at least one. We had 3, so we knew we'd made an impact. And then once we take it down, in a perfect example of imitation, it's the sincerest form of flattery, somebody else puts up videoadstandards.com and carries the torch forward. To this day, this site still runs. It's anonymous. I don't know who it is, but they're still bringing light to this issue. So glad to see it happen. So when can you use 1% marketing? Some principles to leave you with. First of all, you're only doing it 1% of the time. Otherwise, you sound like just a big negative jerk. So leave it for a big meaty problem or opportunity that you actually have to win. Number 2, you can't go around slinging mud without supporting evidence or data, so make sure you have that. We had that in droves. And you're taking a stand. You're going to piss people off. So please, God, make sure you're on the right side of the issue. Thank you.
I wish Rich were here because we are definitely teaching students to question the status quo in a good way. We're going to switch to our second defining principle, which is students always, and this concept that we're always in a state of learning. And our first speaker to speak to us and to teach us, so we are learning from him, is Phil Livingston. He's MBA 88. He's the Chief Executive Officer of LexisNexis Martindale Hubbell. He's also the ex-Raider. And he's going to hit, the title of his talk is Learnings of an Operator, Top 10 Lessons from My 30 Years in Business.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
And for my classmates, this was MBA 83, the best class ever at Cal. So it's great to be here. I have a huge debt of gratitude to Cal. Without a doubt, it gave me intellectual confidence and intellectual curiosity, a network, and it set me on a career that was just fantastic. So I love Cal, and I always say everything goes back to Haas Berkeley. So these are my 10 top learnings from 30 years in business. 30 years, many companies. Some people say too many companies. I say it's just the right number of companies. Some interesting ones up there: Celestial Seasonings, World Wrestling Entertainment, the Oakland Raiders, Genentech, and LexisNexis. So number 10 in my David Letterman style list, a little nutty plus smart can equal great results. I've met and worked with some very eccentric people, and you never know what person or where in the room the great idea is going to come from. And you have to be open to all of them. You have to encourage them. You have to empower them and make them feel a part of the full team. Number 9, learners always, a nod to Dean Lyons for sure. And when I talk about learners always, I talk from meeting with and working with so many senior managers and advancing middle managers, listening, being a good listener. And sometimes I say to my peers, I say, are your ears working? Literally. You have to have your ears open. You have to be listening. You have to turn off the inner processes in your brains that are preventing you from hearing what's being said in the room. This whole thing about emotional intelligence, it all starts from having your ears open and being a good listener, and it'll make you a great learner. Number 8, sales and marketing have fundamentally changed over the last 5 to 10 years. It's just an incredibly different world than it was. We used to have sales-driven organizations, marketing-driven organizations, engineering-driven organizations. But today, the amount of data that's flowing around the consumer or the buyer at the moment of purchase is incredible, and it has fundamentally changed sales and marketing. And if you haven't advanced into the new framework of sales and marketing, you need to do so ASAP. Number 7, create and convey a sense of urgency. I learned this at Genentech from the famous co-founder Bob Swanson. Bob was on the cutting edge of recombinant DNA technology, and he went around to all the senior managers and leaders, and he asked them what's the top value of Genentech in the early days as we were pre-product. And he listened, he said, no, you're wrong. Our number 1 value is sense of urgency. We have earth-changing, medicine-changing, disease management-changing technology, and we have to have a sense of urgency about bringing it to market. And when you bring sense of urgency to your organization, you can move an organization, you can make great things happen, you can bring products to market faster, you empower people, you make things happen by conveying a sense of urgency. Number 6, focus on real value creation. Mo Siegel, the CEO of Celestial Seasonings, taught me this. Mo Siegel did not have a college degree, but Mo Siegel said he had a PhD in marginology. He had a PhD in marginology. And he knew every dime of packaging costs, ingredients costs, TV time, radio time. He knew how to make money. And, you know, gross margins cover up a lot of mistakes. Many of you have been high gross margin businesses. You've been in low gross margin businesses. Having high gross margins, knowing your cost structure, getting the full effect of good pricing allows you to invest more in a market, bring new products to market faster, and it covers up a whole bunch of mistakes by having great margins. So have a PhD in marginology, as Mo Siegel did. Number 5, core values make a difference. I love what Dean Lyons has done here for Haas and giving us a set of core values to go forward with. But at the Oakland Raiders, going way back to the 60s, Al Davis had 2 core values for the Oakland Raiders. It was commitment to excellence, and it was pride and poise. In 1980, when we went to the Super Bowl and we got off the airplane about a week before practice, about a week before the Super Bowl, he bought the billboards between the airport and the hotel, and each billboard, the first billboard said, commitment to excellence. Next billboard said pride and poise. Next billboard said commitment to excellence. Next billboard said pride and poise. He was conveying the organization's values to the team prior to Super Bowl 15, which we killed the Philadelphia Eagles 27-10. Happy to show you. Happy to show you my Super Bowl ring tonight. I'm running out of time, and I'm only halfway through. Embrace Peter Drucker's principles. Quickly, I think Peter Drucker is timeless, and his most important teaching, well, two most important teachings really are, great leaders and managers focus their time on the things that will make a difference. You know, an organization can pull you in certain directions, but the leaders know that they've got to study their time and focus their time on the things that make a difference. Number 3, find strategy. This is about strategy. Simply and shortly, strategy is a widely used term. It confuses people in organization. It confuses junior people. But to explain strategy to your organization, it's about finding an opportunity and then implementing a strategy to exploit an opportunity. It's a simple framework to convey your messages to the organization. Number 2, the essence of business is making and keeping happy customers. This is another Peter Druckerism, and it's timeless, and it's absolutely right. And you hear more and more organizations talking about being customer-centric and being customer-focused, and it is what it's all about. If you want to build a business, start with a small number of customers, acquire them, make them happy, and you'll keep them. And my number 1 learning from 30 years of traipsing around the country post-Cal is leaders live in the future. You have to, as a manager and a leader, you have to be working on today the things that are going to yield results 12 months, 24 months out. You have to be living, I call it living in the forecast and living in your 2-year operating plan. And if you're working on last month's results and studying the past and you're mired in the problems of the past, you're missing the boat. You have to live in the future as a leader. And thank you for your time, and it's great to be here and see everybody.
Nice. Tomek Ulatowski is our 6th speaker. He is the co-chairman of Multimedia Polska, and his topic is quite fascinating, how he went from seaman to handcuffs to investment banker, all via Haas.
Thank you. Yes, I will not talk about all these things which most of you have done, investment banking, consulting. I will tell you about the company, which is where the theoretical advice is translated in more precise terms, performance over time. So I founded a cable company in Poland in 1999, and I would like to tell you a story about this company, about Poland, which is a country where I come from, where I grew up. Somehow I landed up in Berkeley by being a seaman first, escaping from communist Poland, was a guard at the New York, was armed with handcuffs and clubs, but it all didn't help me, but I found a way to get to Haas. I started working in banking industry afterwards, consulting, investing, and eventually I decided that all of that really, the only measure of success is running a company over a period of time where you are measured in very absolute terms, not by espousing theories or philosophies or what's right or what's wrong, but really how well you measured over time. A cable company in Poland was a story which I will tell you quickly about, if I know how to press the button. Yes, sorry. If you could go to the next slide. It's Poland in 1989 managed, with the help of Solidarity movement, to shake the chains of communism 45 years after the war. It was a terrible time for the country. 89 is a time change, and since then, the country has been developing. It's probably the best performing country in Europe, has not suffered a recession, has 38 million people. It's very focused on economic development, private market development, and cable industry in that context was a wonderful thing to be in. Please, next slide. Polish TV, Poland with 38, almost 40 million people, is a perfect cable TV market where you have multi-story housing units throughout the country. You have people who love to watch television and who like to be connected. We are second largest cable operator in Poland with almost 1 million customers in the country, with about 2.5 million revenue generating units. Our our products which we sell, it's pay TV, which is very important. That's the genesis of it. Voice, and thirdly, which is frankly most important today, that's broadband fast internet, where we believe that the fiber optic network is the way of the future, and it's by far the most sustainable and most resilient vis-a-vis all the other technologies offering fast internet to a consumer. The story, we bought the company in 1999 through our holding company, traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And this was one of these perfect Wall Street creations where investors bought into VC concept buying assets in Eastern Europe. Obviously, these assets didn't make any sense. The company which we acquired through unfriendly takeover in Toronto, that did have one of the assets was a small cable company, and we used that company to eventually acquire over 100 companies, both in cable business and in telecommunication business, building a national network. In the process, you have to take advantage of the opportunities in the marketplace. In 2006, we did an international IPO, which was very successful. The market then sunk, so we took the company private, and today we are a private company controlled by myself and a colleague of mine. Next, please. This is when you look at the mirror in yourself in the morning and you kind of decide how well you're doing. And you need to show the sustainability and growth. Without that, you don't have much to show for. You are not in a business of a quick sale. You have to show it over time. And if you look at these graphs, you see the basics of the business, which is the revenue growth. You have to show some significant growth rate over a period of time. You have to show the margins, the sustainability of the margins in our business. There are two measures, which is the EBITDA and also the capital investment, which you have to be competitive. So it shows you the necessity of it, and that's how you build the value. The value today exceeds probably well over $1 billion of value. And we still have not sold anything, and we control it, and we are very happy with the assets we have. Next, please. So with all the invasion of technologies which we have, maintaining your pricing, maintaining your competitiveness, it's obviously creative, necessary. I will not go through the backup slides because that's maybe later on if some of you have questions about the network. But essentially what we have is a national 20,000 kilometers of network in the country, and we can distribute signals throughout that network from one location. So it is a very efficient way. And we the competition in today's market, international telecom market, is incredibly ruthless. But if you know where your strength, and today our strength is the fiber optics network, that's what will succeed in long term. My short story of my life is you don't plan. Planning is absolutely anathema in personal success. I grew up in under Polish communism. I had no idea. I never traveled. We didn't have passports. We didn't know anything. I became a seaman in order to cross the borders, so I did become a seaman. I jumped ship, so I landed up in New York working as a guard at the UN without the work permit, being stateless. And then I discovered the magic of Haas Business School, which was a wonderful reception I received. And I managed to somehow get accepted. I still don't know how. So then I started this career as a banker and an investor and an advisor. And I realized that selling advice is the worst thing I can possibly do, because you always tell people what they want to hear, and that's how you get paid. And so I needed to get away from this stuff. I had clients for 10, 15 years who, really believed me, but I felt it was really not an honest, so I turned into investing. And investing is really something which you can take home and reflect and say whether you're right or wrong. And very often you are wrong, but you hopefully learn from the mistakes and hopefully next time you're going to do better. So anyway, thank you so much, and that's my story.
Thank you. Tomek, you definitely get the award for the most circuitous path to Haas. Our seventh and last speaker under Students Always is Nico Goldstein. He's an MBA of 03. He's the chief, he's got a fan club. He's the chief executive officer of LAN Airlines in Peru, and he's going to speak to us about the difference between working and working with passion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nico.
Hi, everybody. How many MBAs of 3 we have here? Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one who have no idea how I be accepted here. The difference that he ended on 73 and I born on 73. So yeah, I keep making the same mistake. Okay, I'm from Argentina. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about my president, the new Argentine Pope Francisco, Maradona, or Messi. I'm here to talk about passion and work. I work for an airline, the largest airline in Latin America. This is the merge of LAN from Chile and TAM in Brazil. 52,000 people working for the airline, pretty big. We are good, we are very good, but we are not outstanding yet in terms of service. Where I'm going to give you an example with 2 outcomes. I'm going to share with you a concept, and then I'm going to give you some homework. Everything for free, don't worry. So I'm not collecting money today. First example, I'm at gate 14 at the Lima International Airport. These guys as tourists in order not to be recognized by my people. And I see a family of 5 literally running to the gate. There are still 19 minutes to the door close, and the family is running, and they have 20 minutes. So we close the doors 19 minutes before departure, and they still have 20 minutes, so 1 minute different. The lady on the counter stops the family and says, "Sir, I'm sorry, the door is closed. You are not going to make this flight." They start yelling, discussing, end of story. They go to a hotel, they stay the night there. The day after, they go to Cancun. And I receive a complaint letter and a large bill from a hotel and dinner to pay. Same example, number 2. I'm in the Lima International Airport, gate number 14. This guy's as a tourist in order not to be recognized by my people. And I see a family of 5 running to the gate. We close doors 19 minutes before departure. They still have 20 minutes. So the lady on the counter detected them and decided to pick up the radio. She calls other 3 agents. They cut the boarding pass. They grab the bags, and they run into the airplane, and they make the flight. And she says, "Sir, you're late, but I know you're going on vacations, and we don't have any other flight until tomorrow. So this time, you make it, but please don't do that again." The family, completely happy. They go on vacation, and the day after, I receive a congratulations letter. Which is the difference between example number 1 and number 2? Work with passion or not. And this is, for me, a huge difference. So, same situation, same procedures, same KPIs, different outcome. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Be a good citizen. Passion creates enjoyment and happiness. And those are the drivers to result and the drivers to positive impact. Now, close your eyes for 5 seconds. I'm not going to steal your wallet. Close your eyes. Think in your passion. Think in your passion, please. How do you feel what do you feel? I can see many smiles around. What are you passionate about? Sports, music, family, NGOs, photo, working in teams, managing, whatever. Now think how far you can open your eyes. Don't get sleep, please. Now think how far can you go in order to fulfill your passion. What do you do? Which rules you break in order to do that? I'm passionate about food. Believe it or not, I'm passionate about food. And since I don't want to be twice Nico, I'm running all the time. And I find myself running at 5:30 a.m., 15 miles, for example. And while I'm running, I'm thinking in the huge barbecue that I'm going to have. So that's my life, you know. I'm also passionate about people. I'm genuinely interested in people. So I keep my phone on. I stay at work many hours just trying to help or just listening to them. So my tiny contribution here today is try to find your passion, devote time to this, help others to find their passion, give them the resources to do that, because the same example treated in one way or the other make a huge difference. So the homework today for you guys is 5 things. Discover your passion. Devote time to do it. Don't waste your time in things that are not interesting for you. Help others to find their passion, and if they work for you, give them the resources and the tools to fulfill their passion. And last but not least, do it this year, please. Don't spend the time. As I mentioned before, passion creates enjoyment and happiness, and those are the drivers for results and positive impact. Thank you very much.
Nice job. I think my next vacation is going to use his airline, and hopefully I'll get to that same gate if I'm late. That closes out our second defining principle of students always. Our next speaker is going to open up our third defining principle, which is beyond yourself. He is one of my former students, one of my favorite, I shouldn't say that, I liked him. He's a Canadian, his name is Jeff Denby, MBA 08. He is Chief Creative Officer and founder of Pact Apparel. And listen to what he's going to talk to us about. Digging for dollars in your underwear. So this is going to be good. Difficult, as you always were.
What if we wanted to grow a really big garden at your school?
Whoa!
Hi, I'm Jeff Denby, the founder of Pact Apparel. Each season, we design a collection that's inspired by a great cause. This season, we're teaming up with the Whole Kids Foundation to raise money to build 100 urban gardens at schools all across America. We're gonna need your help to get it done, though.
Where do you think these were grown?
Garden.
Why do you think kids should have gardens?
So we'll have trees and flowers. So people are getting better health.
Yeah.
How did you get all those muscles?
Because I ate vegetables like mango. That's fruit.
Like mango.
I think fairies are real.
Where do fairies live?
In gardens.
Yes.
Do you know how plants grow?
Root.
You can
Take your
spot.
time.
Yeah, we're here.
Roots.
Roots.
They grow in the ground.
Do you know what crowdfunding is?
What is that?
Crowdfunding.
It's just like, here, have some money.
And how much money do you think each person should give?
$6? Well, including all the soil, fencing, that sort of stuff. Somewhere around 500 to 200. I have a wall. 25.
$25?
Yeah. I have 2 wallets.
Do you think $10 is a lot of money?
Not much, but if you get lots of people to do it, then it'll be pretty successful.
Would you like a garden at your school?
Sure.
You would?
Yeah. I want to make a spider garden.
Oh, that sounds scary.
Who would you ask for that money?
The president. 2,000 fairies. My good friend.
You would ask your good friends? Like who?
Elias and Henry. Relatives, yeah. We want there to be a whole bunch of gardens around the United States, all that sort of stuff.
That would be amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Please tell me to get a garden in my school.
Hi, everybody. I got my MBA 5 years ago from Haas. So I'm Jeff Denby. I'm the founder of Pact Apparel. And for you people out there that don't know what Pact is, we're a clothing company that's obsessed with a really big idea, and that's clothes that make the world a better place. We make socks with soul and altruistic underwear. And one of the best things is that for every purchase you make of Pact, you help us make a positive change in the world by giving back to a cause. So this past January and February, we did exactly what the video said. We ran a campaign to raise money for urban gardens all across the country with our partner Whole Kids Foundation. We did 39 days of the video, or of the campaign. And how did we do it? So we found 69 passionate volunteers all across the country. And we created 69 campaigns on Indiegogo.com. Woohoo, Indiegogo. And what we did was we found gardens, schools all across the country that wanted gardens, and we paired these amazing volunteers with the schools so that they could raise money through Indiegogo, through their own campaign page, to get money for the gardens. And every time someone donated to their garden, they got a thank you in the form of Pact product. So why gardens? Well, you know, when you think about it, you know only 2% of kids in America eat their recommended daily value of fruits and vegetables. But if you don't believe me, let's check in with our friend Philip to see how important gardens are to him.
Philip, what would you do to get a garden in your school?
Smack my whole face into the wall?
Sure.
Would you do that for a garden?
Yes!
So, after a lot of face smacking into the wall for 39 days, we actually did it. We raised, through Indiegogo and with our partner Whole Kids Foundation, we raised over $100,000 to build urban gardens all across the US. That means that it's 40,000, more than 40,000 new kids, or kids had new gardens at their schools because of this program that we ran. But how do we do it? We didn't just build 69 campaigns and hope that the money would show up. Let's check back in with our friends Philip. Are you on Facebook?
I'm not on Facebook.
Do you have a Twitter account?
What is that?
Do you blog?
Are you a blogger?
What is that?
Elliot, do you have a social network?
What is it?
Do you ever go on the computer?
No.
Elliot, do you go on the computer?
Yes, I do.
So we, through our 69 Pactivists, the amazing part was that we had access to more than 50,000 of their friends on Facebook and other forms of social media. And this, over the 39 days, equaled more than 6 million earned media impressions, which are super high value media impressions. The nice little side part of this was that our own site saw an 83% increase in traffic during this campaign, and we got a 90% increase in orders as a result of running this campaign. Yeah, all for the cost of $0 in advertising. So it's a pretty big indication of the power of using something like crowdfunding and social media. And the other thing was that it created one very, very happy retail partner for us, which is Whole Foods, which turns out to be PAC's largest retail partner. So it was an amazing, amazing program to have the ability to make this kind of impact as a small brand, raising $100,000 to build urban gardens all across America at the same time as raising our profile and out there in the world. But ultimately, we did it all for the kids, so it's a big thank you to them. I feel like we've gotten somewhere with it. The thing I really liked was how you ate the carrot, and the tomato thing was great. And this is really good.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Talk about beyond yourself. If you did not take a picture of that and tweet it, please stay up here and take a picture so everybody can tweet it. And actually, speaking of Twitter, our next speaker under Beyond Yourself is Michael Sippy, MBA 98, Vice President. He's the Vice President of Consumer Products at Twitter, and he's going to speak about Twitter building the global town square.
All right, so hi. So yeah, we're the Mac weirdos. So the great thing about Haas, so we're in the green room this afternoon. It's a very exciting green room. There's this luxurious. There are actual cans of Diet Coke, which is excellent. And I'm hanging out and my feet are up, and Jeff walks in, and he's like, nice socks. And it turns out I'm wearing his socks, which is so awesome. All right, so a couple quick things about Twitter, just so you get a sense, in case you've ever seen the Bluebird before. We have more than 200 million users around the world that use Twitter on a monthly basis. 2/3 of those are outside the United States. And many more than half of our users access Twitter and use Twitter on a mobile device. So that's my prompt for me to take a picture of this room, which is I will tweet afterwards. Totally awesome. All right. I'm going to give a brief history of media, starting with the Greek agora. So this is where people used to go to get their information. Or as my daughter said when I showed her these slides, that's where the men went, Dad. So where everybody gathered essentially in the square, it's where people collected and talked about things and heard from their leaders and debated and talked with their leaders. And fast forward about 1,500 years and you have this thing that comes along that Gutenberg invented called the printing press. And it really started to change the way that people got their information. Initially, the people that had presses, they were very big, they were very expensive, they took a long time to print things. Then what happened is the invention of the steam engine, and when you have the steam engine, you can run big printing presses, and when you run big printing presses, you get things like the daily newspaper, right? And that actually creates our first real mass media because of the invention of the steam engine. Then we get a thing called broadcast communications, and it turns out, radio and television were first actually meant to be two-way media, two-way communication tools, but as we all know, they evolved into broadcast communication. So fast forward, you get the internet, slightly disruptive thing, but you also get what's the kind of the next big disruptive thing, which is you get mobile phones. And this transition that we're going through around the world, not just here in the United States, not in Western Europe, not just in Japan, but is happening around the world. You're seeing now Android devices that are happening in China that will retail for $70. That will have GPS, that will have Wi-Fi, that will have 4-megapixel cameras, that will be able to run amazing amounts of software that will retail for $70. When you start to have this, what happens is everyone is creating and consuming media all the time. All the time. And this is what Twitter helps enable. This is a shot about 30 to 60 seconds after the bomb went off in Boston a couple weeks ago, taken by a reporter that was there. It was tweeted out as one of the first images that came from downtown Boston. But it wasn't just the only image. There were obviously lots that were shared the week before last. We were so close it was scary, felt the force of the explosion, people were fleeing and victims were scattered. So you have this real-time, essentially information that's being shared, but also conversation that happens between people around the world. This is a photo that was tweeted from folks in Syria sending their respects for what happened in Boston. And then you get what happened back, which is the Boston response to Syria. And this was sent just a few days ago. Now, it's not just kind of terrible, tragic events that Twitter helps people communicate, but when you have things like the lights that go out in the Superdome, we saw this massive traffic spike when the lights go out. Our CEO was there, and people turned to him and said, "Did you do that?" Dick's like, "No, no, no," pulling out his phone, checking what's going on Twitter. And this is one of the best tweets that actually got shared. This time, it's the rich people trapped in the Superdome.
Nice. That's excellent.
So, you know, the conversation that happens is not just with people. We actually sometimes get brands involved. So that actually happened. Power out, no problem. You can still dunk in the dark. Oreo actually had a team of social media people, like they knew something would happen at the Super Bowl. They created that in real time, and it was up on Twitter while the lights were still out in the Superdome. You also get crazy conversations that happen. As an example, does anybody know who the guy over there on the left is? Yeah, that's so again, my 12-year-old knew. That's Drake. And on the right, I'm sure more people know who that is. T. Boone Pickens. So Drake says, you know, hey, first million is the hardest. T. Boone actually replies to Drake. First billion is a hell of a lot harder. So like, we have a phrase inside Twitter, like only on Twitter are you gonna have like the Texas oil tycoon talking to a Canadian rap star. This happened during the NBA lockout. This is Kevin Durant, who was a little restless, saying like, this is boring. Anyone playing flag football, I need to run around or something. And this fan replies, you know, I got a pickup game down in Stillwater if you want to come over. I need a deep threat. So this is what happened. That's Kevin Durant. Yes. That's a deep threat. So back when Sandy hit in New York, you had a variety of different perspectives of what was actually going on the East Coast. This was a shot from the NY subway service. Waterlogged damaged escalator leading to #1 at South Ferry Station. So that's literally from underground. But here was another perspective that was shared on Twitter in real time from the International Space Station. So here's what we're seeing. David Carr, who's a columnist for the New York Times, some of you may see, tweeted out this question, which I'll try to read here. How helpful, diverting, important, or dumb or hateful was Twitter last night for a piece I'm doing? Thanks. And Andrew Nuska replies, it was a pop-up town square for the Northeast US. We love that metaphor. And when you look at all the other replies that happened to David, they basically echoed that sentiment. And what we're doing is essentially building that place connected in real time with mobile phones for everyone on the planet to share what's happening and to find out what's happening as it happens. Thanks a lot.
Good job. Michael, that was fantastic. Go get your can of Diet Coke now. Our last speaker under the third defining principle is Larry Marcus. He's MBA of 1993. He is a venture capitalist with Walden Venture Capital, and the topic of his talk to us today is going to be Trust Your Eyes. Thank you, Larry.
My Twitter handle is Cyberlar, C-Y-B-E-R-L-A-R. My email is larry@waldenvc.com. Tweet away. So it's so energizing to be back here at Berkeley, and it's just hard to believe it's been 20 years since class of '93 graduated, and I was honored to speak at the Greek Theater at that time. It was pouring rain in such an epic way, the points of our caps were actually pointing down. So I'm now faced with this huge challenge. 20 years goes by. How do I convey everything I've learned in 5 minutes? I'm pondering it, and all of a sudden it occurs to me, I need to speak very slowly. So my message today is to trust your eyes, to seek out and witness experiences for yourself. So as a VC, I'm faced with decisions on companies on a daily basis. Trusting my eyes to me means that I want to see things with my eyes, not actually hear about them. And before I'll take a meeting with a company, I actually want to see a demo that creates real delight and be super excited about it. Literally a demonstration where you can see someone's eyes widen by how cool it is. I've even made this a part of our firm branding where we're sprout stage investors, where we're looking for the sprout of progress from a company. We're not interested in doing one of the 70,000+ seed investments that are done a year. We're waiting for that sprout. And then I want to really witness it. So having a great product means you get to tap into word of mouth and super passionate users who want to talk about it. Those are known as evangelists, and that's super important. And that means that great products have much lower marketing costs and much faster adoption. So with more and more of us carrying around mobile phones and with social media, that's a really important factor. I had this wow experience when I got a wow demo of something called the Music Genome Project, the music recommendation technology of a company called Savage Beast, and it was incredibly joyful. And I was really inspired about building a consumer-facing service on that technology, and we were lucky to recruit some incredible people in addition to our founder, Tim Westergren, and we rebranded that company and relaunched it as Pandora Radio. Then there was Melodis, a sound search company. They showed me singing search, voice search, and music ID, and all of these were coming from one core technology. Again, an incredibly joyful experience, and we rebranded that to SoundHound, and since then we've had over 130 million users added. So trusting your eyes may sound very easy or obvious, but think about how complicated decisions can be. We're overloaded by information, theoretical facts, hype, conflicted people, misleading data, great salespeople and storytellers. And then, of course, there is the bandwagon. So-and-so is involved, so it has to be a good idea. So to make matters even more complicated, with time passing, all of this extra information and misinformation can sometimes make bad ideas good. And then the closer you are to things, the more attached that you actually get to them. And so right after graduation, I became an equity analyst studying the consumer entertainment and video game space. And I was faced with the challenge of having to predict the hits in order to try to predict the stocks. So I looked at all of the data. I tried to figure out where the hits were coming from. Were they sequels? Were they new brands? How fast did they come into the charts? How fast did they decay? But the most important thing that I did was to actually play all of the games to try to figure out what was common between them. This was a really great job. And so, what did I learn? All of the great hits were super fun, easy to play, hard to master. And again, it may seem trite or obvious, but the amount of misinformation at that time was incredibly overwhelming. You know, this product had better 3D graphics. This one was going to have a huge budget with a Hollywood titan on it. This other one, was going to have a Barbie license. Other one was going to have huge marketing dollars. So I learned to ignore the noise and the hype and focus in on the gameplay. And when I saw a game that wasn't interesting, that was when I bailed on it. Do you remember 3DO? It was a great story, but the games weren't good, and the stock went to zero. So trusting your eyes means understanding the product and the experience, and hopefully doing so can save you a lot of time. And it certainly kept me out of a lot of meetings waiting for that sprout to happen, and that gives me more time for things that matter. So if you see something really interesting, I do not want to hear about it, but I would love to see it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. Good job. Very good job. Very good job. And that closes out the third defining principle. So we have 3 speakers left who will exemplify our 4th defining principle, which is confidence without attitude. our 11th speaker will hobble up here soon. Her name is Jan Berman. She's MBA 98. She is a senior director at PG&E, and she's going to speak to us about Obama's environmental vision. Yes, we have.
All right, I can do it. Don't worry, guys, don't worry. I was giving a keynote speech on stage 2 weeks after this accident. People were a little bit concerned then. I must admit, though, my primary objective has been to start a new fashion trend involving business clothes and tennis shoes, and that has not caught on so well. Well, I don't know how many of you can remember where exactly you were during Obama's State of the Nation address in February, but I can remember exactly where I was because I was at a conference of energy efficiency professionals, and I am blessed to be able to run the largest energy efficiency program in the United States. And we had just consumed, let's just say, a moderately vast quantity of cocktails. And so we were perhaps exuberantly and irrationally thrilled to hear the president talk about our industry and to challenge the United States with this challenge. I'm issuing a new goal for America. Let's cut in half the energy wasted in our homes and businesses over the next 20 years. And while we were thrilled to hear that, I think there were others in the United States who wondered, is that an achievable objective? Is it consistent with economic growth? Is it even feasible or something that can be done? So I don't know what your first reaction to it is, but let me tell you that we have already actually done it in California over these last 30 years. And let me just show you that. Don't get scared of the graph. You all went to business school, right? This is a very famous graph in my industry, which I'm guessing none of you have actually seen. It's called the Rosenfeld curve. It's named after UC Berkeley professor Art Rosenfeld, also called the father of energy efficiency. And what it shows is that in the 1970s, the path of California and the rest of the United States on energy consumption diverged. While California's per capita energy consumption remained flat over 30 years, the rest of the United States continued to grow, in fact, continued to double. And at this point, as Californians, we use half the electricity per capita as the rest of the United States. Half. Do you feel deprived or anything? Like, is there any electric gadget we don't have, right? We just don't waste energy in the state. Let me try to make that a little more real because, you know, we're kind of geeks and we tend to talk about kilowatt hours and tons of carbon, which is not very intuitive and doesn't mean much to most people. So the difference between the line on the top and California's line on the bottom is 30 natural gas power plants we didn't build in California over the last 30 years. Can you visualize 30 natural gas power plants up and down the coast? Okay, just in case you can't, here's another way of looking at it. Do you have any Texans in the audience? Texas? Yeah, okay, well, I apologize for the next comment then. If California had the same energy efficiency as Texas, we would spend $30 billion a year more on our electricity bill in this state. And if you still can't envision $30 billion a year more, think of it as $1,000 per person and try to imagine what you do with the extra $1,000 you're not spending on your electricity bill. That's what we've done in California. It's also been jobs positive. According to NRDC, the Natural Resources Defense Council, we've created 50,000 jobs with energy efficiency because it takes a lot more jobs to install efficient equipment than it takes to run a power plant. So far, so good. Let me talk briefly about the policy construct, like why did we diverge starting in the 1970s? 4 quick reasons. First of all, we decided as a policy that we would focus on energy efficiency rather than power plant construction. Efficiency is first. Secondly, we established an aggressive path on codes and standards. California requires the most stringent standards for goods and for housing construction of any state in the nation. The nation usually follows well behind us. Thirdly, we've created a structure called revenue decoupling for utilities, and I won't do the math for you, but just briefly speaking, our earnings or profitability is not linked to our sales. And in fact, we get profits from selling energy efficiency, so we earn more by selling less. Cool, huh? And fourth, because of that construct, we've been investing in energy efficiency programs over the last 3 decades. It looked like this in 1970. We wanted you to buy a shiny new refrigerator that was more efficient. We gave you a check. It looks a little bit like this now. Brand new refrigerator, very cool, huh? We leveraged the power of the Energy Star brand, which we helped create with DOE 20 years ago. We have displays in a retail environment. We have databases with billions of pieces of data that can tell us that you need a new refrigerator, and we can communicate that to you on the web or with home mailers. Oh, we also still give out checks, but I forgot to put that up there. Did the story work? Don't fear the graph. You can read this. I'll help you walk you through it. This is what happened with refrigerators in the United States in the last 30 years since we've had this focus. The blue line on the top is the size of the refrigerator. Did it go up or down? Up, yes, very good. The red line is showing you the consumption per year of the refrigerator, up or down. Very good. The green line is the price in real dollars of the refrigerator, up or down. Excellent. So they got bigger, they got more efficient, and they got cheaper all at the same time. It's like the American dream, right? Can we cut in half the energy wasted in buildings in the next 20 years? Yes, we can. Yes, we have. Thanks.
Nice. Wow. Nice. Proud to be a Californian. Thank you, Jan. Our 12th speaker, Sue Adelhart, BCEMBA from 2003. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Embarcadero Partners, and her topic today, Strategy in the Real World and Why Design Helps to Deliver.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the second to last speaker, so you are 10 minutes away from
cocktails.
Cocktail time. I'm the CEO of Embarcadero Partners, and I'm going to tell you two things that are very near and dear to me. And I'm going to start with a story about something that's particularly near and dear to me, my morning cup of coffee. I recently had to buy a new coffee maker. I was holding mine together with Scotch tape, and I decided it's time. And if you've had to try this recently, you'll know this is no small task. Go online and look at people's reviews of their coffee makers. Maybe. There we go. People hate their coffee makers. And since coffee is such an important part of my morning ritual, it's kind of a life or death decision for me. After much research and a lot of reviews like this, I settled on a Bonavita. The Bonavita. Apparently, sorry, I'm having a little trouble clicking here, it showers water evenly over the coffee and brews it for a perfect temperature and a perfect cup of coffee every time. I should say that I endeavor to make a perfect cup of coffee every morning. I can do this. I endeavor to make a great cup of coffee every morning. My mornings, and therefore my days, depends on that. I don't know about you, but it's important. So I've honed and perfected my methods so I consistently get great coffee. Now I have my Bonavita, day one. What do you think I get? Rocket fuel. Whoops, day two. Day one's rocket fuel. Let's see if we can go back. I'm having clicking problems here. Oh well, day one's rocket fuel. It's too strong, it's too caffeinated, and it is too not the way I start my morning. Day two, I get the same thing. I'm using less coffee, I'm using different water, still not the way I start my morning. Day three, too weak. I've made over-adjustments. I've had this coffee maker for about a month now, and I'm still perfecting how I interact with it, but I'm getting better. And one thing I can tell you about is it's the same beans, the same grind, and the same filter, and the same water that I've been using forever. But I got entirely different results every single time, and this really bugs me. I'm finally getting my amazing coffee. It's not easy, it's worth it, and I love my Bonavita. So why am I telling you this? Is this like a life lesson in a coffee maker? Not exactly, but at least it's a good analogy, and here's the lesson. Or here it's not. When you change the approach, you get different results. Same beans, same grind, same water. Where am I headed? I run a consulting firm with a different approach. First of all, we start with the basic assumption that our clients are very smart people. Only smart, politically astute people get to where they are. And like me making my coffee, they approach each problem in the same way to get consistent results. Being smart, they've learned that doesn't work for everything. They've figured out that if you go outside, you can get different results. The problem is, management consultants have figured this out as well. A bunch of top-tier consulting firms have grown up around the clients, and in fact, these firms are as big and as wealthy as the clients they serve. They're what I call the consulting industrial complex. The consulting industrial complex feeds on the clients, upselling and upselling the next engagement. They keep themselves going so they need off-the-shelf solutions to do that. And these solutions don't always get implemented. But remember, if you change the approach, you get different results. At Embarcadero Partners, we're equal parts design and strategy. This is jumping all over. There we go. We're equal parts design and strategy. And it's because we have a belief about how to fundamentally solve problems. Of course, strategists solve business problems. I don't have to tell you about that. But I think it's worth telling you why we bring designers into every engagement that we have. Designers make up about half of our consulting teams. They're as valued as the business strategist. They get paid the same as the business people. And they work as hard or harder than the business people on our teams. Why is this? By applying design to business problems, we take a new approach. We solve problems faster, better, and differently. When designers went to school, no one taught them about strategy. What they learned instead was how to solve complex problems within constraints. They see constraints as opportunities, and they create beautiful solutions. Coincidentally, solving complex problems within constraints is the essence of strategy. Think about what design does. It makes the most complex information clear and accessible to everyone. It tells stories. It shapes culture. Design is strategic. So why don't all management consultants do this? Well, for one thing, it's not easy. Designers and strategists think differently and work differently. And so you have to teach them how to work together as a team to solve problems as a team. For another, it means you have to think a little bit differently about your clients as well. You have to stop thinking about them as people who pay the bills, and you really have to start thinking about them as the people who allow us to help them create new things, new ways of working, new ways of envisioning the future. We change the way they see things and solve problems so they can continue to get great results and open the door for new opportunities. It's a different approach that gets different results. And in the end, that same kind of approach can also get you one hell of a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Sue. And last but certainly not least, we have our 13th lucky speaker. Her name is Danae Ringelman. She's an MBA 08. She is the founder of Indiegogo, which you heard in Jeff Denby's Funding a Garden talk, and her title is The ROI of Values Don't Mess with the Touchy-Feely.
Ooh. Yes, don't mess with it. Hey, everybody. Hopefully, you're all ready to get some drinking going, so I'll try to be quick. I'm really actually excited to be here. It was actually 7 years ago, or almost 7 years ago, that I stepped onto this campus with a goal, and that was to democratize fundraising. I had grown up a child of small business owner parents, and they had spent 30 years building a business, but not once could they get a loan to grow. And in the venture world, that means they bootstrap for 30 years, which is kind of crazy. But when I graduated college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, so I did what every young person does, is you go to New York and you work in investment banking. And that'll answer all your questions, right? And I actually went in because I didn't really understand how the world worked, and I thought, you know, if I ever want to change the world, which is what young people are supposed to do, we have to actually understand the world. And so I went into finance, and in that experience, I actually you know, did my 100 hours a week, all that stuff, but had this pivotal experience almost 10 years ago, which was an experience that ended up changing the path of my whole life. And that's what was getting an invitation to this event called Where Hollywood Meets Wall Street. And I was 22, pretty naive. I thought I was going to go and be a fly on the wall and get to see these big Hollywood bankers or Hollywood producers talk to these big Wall Street bankers. And I actually really wanted to go because it was an excuse to get out of the office. And I thought I could justify it to my boss because the word Wall Street was in the title. And I got there and the exact opposite happened. It was not that at all. It was actually a sea of emerging artists, and I was probably one of a handful of people from a bank. And because of that, I was instantly the most popular girl at the party, which I was not ready for at all. But it was 2 days later that it hit home for me. What was really going on is when I received a FedEx package with a script from an elderly filmmaker with a note that said, "It was amazing meeting you. I can't wait for you to finance my next film." I'm like, you don't understand number crunching? That's what I do. But it was that moment that my heart sank, and I realized that the system was broken. And I did what any young girl who's distraught about you know, the injustices of life, and I called my mom. Because she was going to help me. And over the next 20 minutes of crying and basically complaining that this is not a, you know, we're selling a fallacy, this is not the land of all opportunity, it's the land of opportunity for people who happen to be connected to trust funds or rich uncles and stuff like that, she finally interrupted me. She was a good listener. And she said, "Well, if you're that passionate about it, if you're that upset about it, go do something about it." And she hung up on me. So I was like, okay, so I will. So I was like, that's good advice. I think I'm going to do that. So I started working with some of these filmmakers and theater producers that I met that night and actually ended up staging an Arthur Miller play for a one-night event where we got the whole house packed like this, got an audience there, got actors to volunteer their time. And I got three investors there. I worked 3 months to get these investors there. So they witnessed the whole thing and they'd love it. And at the end of the night, they'd write the check and we'd produce it into a big Hollywood production. I'd be on my new life as a producer in New York City. And everything went perfect except the last bit. They loved the play. It was amazing. All that hard work was amazing. But they said, you know, we loved everything, but we're not going to fund it. We have different objectives. Sorry. And it was in that moment that I realized the people that wanted the play to come to life the most, the actors and the audience, didn't actually have the power to make it happen. So if the old man taught me that the system was broken, it was this theater experience taught me that how it was broken. And so I said, screw this. I'm going to fix this. And I went back to Berkeley with this mission to change finance and actually make it efficient and fair once and for all. And while I was going through these dramatic experiences in New York and out here, a guy by the name of Eric Schell was going through his own experiences halfway across the country. A man I didn't know, but now is my co-founder, who I met here on this campus. And another guy, Slava Rubin, had been struggling with his fundraising experience. He was a technologist, strategist by day, but his father had died of cancer when he was a young boy. And he never really dealt with that. So what he did was start a charity event, and he was using all the technology at his fingertips to raise money, which included MySpace and email. And so when the three of us came together, that's when sparks flew. We knew that we were onto something. Social media was on the rise. Twitter had just launched. I think Facebook was still college only, but we knew that was changing. Obama had just started raising money, and he literally put the word crowdfunding on the map. And so we got started my first semester here at Haas. We launched by my second year, and we're now the largest global crowdfunding platform in the world. It all was born here on this campus, crowdfunding. And so I actually want to take a moment. Can anybody from the class of 2007, 2008, 2009 stand up? And any professor or teacher or anything that knew me back then, or Eric, please stand up. Indiegogo is possible because of all of these people. We did not do this alone. We got feedback from everybody from the early days when our product sucked to customers when we had none. They found us our first customers. Thank you, guys. to, I mean, pretty much everything. And without them, we couldn't have done it. So what we are today is now we're this platform for everybody to raise money. We have artists like filmmakers. This guy had no connections to Hollywood. He just made videos on YouTube. And one day was like, I want to make a film. And he put up an Indiegogo, and he's well on his way. He raised over $300,000 to make his film. Then we have entrepreneurs like the Illuminate founders. These young women wanted to actually save lives through light. They wanted to create a solar-powered light that to help, kids were getting killed in Africa and India because of kerosene was the normal source of light. And so they wanted to develop a light that actually could be used and was environmentally friendly. And so they got their launch here on Indiegogo, and they actually participated in the GSVC. Then we have product designers who maybe they don't want to save lives, but they want to help you not lose your keys. So these guys developed the Stick and Find, which is Bluetooth-enabled stuff, or discs that can stick on everything that you tend to lose. I'm very excited. Mine are coming shortly. I lose my keys all the time. And then you have causes. A lot of people might know about this one. Last year, a woman was bullied on a bus, and some kids caught it on video, and it went viral. And a stranger in Canada said, I can't deal with this. This is awful. I got to do something about this. This woman at least deserves to go on a vacation. So he threw up an Indiegogo campaign with the goal of raising $5,000 to send her on vacation. And they raised $700,000. I would like to report she did go on a vacation. It was very nice. She bought a new rug, and she gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to anti-bullying charities across the world. We've also, when Hurricane Sandy hit, MTV and Architects for Humanity collaborated with us to raise a whole bunch of money for the victims of the hurricane. And when Sandy Hook happened, One Republic, the band, jumped on Indiegogo and raised a whole bunch of money for the victims and the families of the children at Sandy Hook. So from entrepreneurs to artists to causes, everybody's using crowdfunding. We're doing pretty well. We're distributing millions of dollars every week now. We're in every country of the world. We're in 4 languages. We're in 3 currencies. We're growing quickly. But these numbers are not because we're not an accident. All the people that just stood up helped us get here, helped us get our launch. And one of the biggest things we learned was here at Haas, and it's been the foundation for absolutely everything we do, and that was getting clear with what our values are and who we are as a company and why we're here. And without, I spent 7 years or 6 years in finance, and I didn't really understand the meaning of values. Thank God for Haas, because values have informed absolutely everything. They've helped us recruit amazing mission-driven people and retain those people. A lot of them come from Haas. It's helped us, it informs our strategy, informs our product. It actually also informs our purpose, which is we're here to empower people to fund what matters to them. It's been so important that it actually helped us develop or influence what our differentiation is to date, which is we're the only platform that is truly an equal opportunity, where anyone has an equal chance of success. And through that differentiation, we've actually proven that crowdfunding is actually a far more sustainable and scalable way to get ideas off the ground. A great example of when you do provide people an equal opportunity, ideas that you never would have thought could have come to life actually happen. This is a great example of a cat cafe in London. This woman was really passionate about opening a cat cafe, which is a cafe to get coffee and hang out with cats. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know those existed. But I was talking to a banker in London, and I showed him this campaign, and he's like, oh my God, my job is to loan money to new businesses and small businesses. I would have never loaned this woman money because I would have sworn there's no market for that. Who wants to go and hang out in a coffee shop with cats? Well, clearly there's a market for it. 110,000 pounds were committed in order to make sure that this cafe opened. These guys were one of the largest punk bands in Canada. They were doing their thing, making their great music, and suddenly their label says, oops, sorry, we don't want you anymore, goodbye. So they were left with their whole career and their lives standing in front of their eyes, and they're like, well, let's not give up. Let's actually go to the people that care about us the most, our fans, and see if they want to help us keep creating music. So they did. They raised over $300,000 to make their next album and go on tour. And one of the best examples of why it's so important to be an equal opportunity and why that's where we feel the future of crowdfunding is headed is we had our first baby crowdfunded last year, which you're like, I have no idea what that means. This actually, a young couple hadn't heard of Indiegogo. They heard of another a platform that has emerged since we started. And they had applied to get their campaign up on that platform and got rejected. And so when they heard about Indiegogo, where we don't have a rejection policy, we include everybody because we're equal opportunity. They put their campaign up on Indiegogo. It was basically a young couple couldn't afford IVF, and so they couldn't conceive naturally, and so they used Indiegogo to raise $8,000 to have a baby. And Landon was born a couple months ago, and he's happy and healthy. Yes. And without Indiegogo, this human life wouldn't exist. So that's kind of crazy. So where's the future? As you can see, one thing I love about Twitter and Facebook is that they've truly democratized communication. They've literally allowed people to talk with each other. The Arab Spring is an amazing example of what is possible when you actually give people the communication channels to talk to each other and organize. We see that's happening with, that's what crowdfunding is doing to finance. We're creating the system of people-powered finance where people are deciding which ideas should come to life, not third-party arbitrary gatekeepers like those investors that sat in that play with me that night that rejected me. It's putting the power back in the hands of the people. All of us decide what ideas come to life. And because of that, it's actually creating an incubation platform that's strengthening and improving the whole financial ecosystem. What's happening is ideas are bubbling up through crowdfunding based on market validation and people voting with their dollar. And traditional financiers, whether they're banks or VCs, are using then crowdfunding to find the next big business to fund or what have you. This is a great example. Ingredients was the first package-free grocery store in Austin, Texas. And they didn't have the money to launch. They used Indiegogo to raise the $15,000 to get their doors open. And because of their success, they found some other investors who came in and now are helping them franchise. These guys, the Gravity Light, also developed a lighting system that creates energy by lifting it up, another safe alternative lighting source. They could not get a venture capitalist to call them back, no matter what they did. So they went on Indiegogo, raised $400,000 to launch their product. The VCs won't stop calling them now. Clear market validation. And then this is an awesome one. This is Let's Build a Goddamn Tesla Museum. Yeah, everybody wants one, right? So I'm going to close up real quick. I'm sorry, I've gone over 5 minutes. I just realized that. This guy by the name of Matt Inman, who many of you know as the Oatmeal, a snarky comic blogger, also happens to be absolutely in love with Nikola Tesla. And when his lab was about to get destroyed or be sold by the New York State government, he said, no, you can't do that. You need to refurbish it. And the New York State government said, well, we have tax dollars to spend. We have to do it responsibly. How can we be so sure that investing in refurbishing his old lab is something that the people actually want? And he said, well, let me go prove it. I'll go raise $800,000 to help do it. And if I do that, will you match it? And then we can go do the project together. And the New York State government said, OK, let's do that, Matt Inman. I'm not quite sure if that's exactly how it went, but somewhat like that. And so he did. He went on Indiegogo and he said, come on, people, let's get this Tesla Museum saved. And they raised $1.4 million. And New York State government was happy to spend the tax dollars to fill in the rest and give the matching funds. So what's amazing is that this people-powered finance is improving the whole world, and it is helping ideas. All the millions of ideas that never went born every year before crowdfunding exists now actually have an equal chance of getting born. But one thing I didn't expect to happen, which is awesome, is that it's actually doing more than just empowering people and helping them get ideas off the ground. It's actually reinstilling pride and confidence in people that had lost it potentially before. This young woman, Karen, or not young woman, elderly woman, had always dreamed of opening her own bread company. All she needed was $10,000, and probably a lot of us in here are like, $10,000, you can get $10,000. Well, when you're working 9 to 5, making minimum wage, saving $100 a month, $10,000 is a really long ways away. So she heard about Indiegogo, and she said, well, why not? Might as well try it. If I don't raise the money, I'm back where I am right now. So she went on Indiegogo, raised $10,000 in 3 weeks, and overnight her life was changed. She had found her own future, and she wrote us a note saying, I'd like to tell you something. Once I began my Indiegogo campaign, I truly saw my life start to change. Indiegogo has given me the confidence in my first business venture, and with that, a great feeling of hope for my future. That is a true gift. So happy that Indiegogo's been born. I'm happy to be part of it, and I'm happy that I was able to do it here, because I don't think I would have been able to do it without anybody here, especially my co-founder, Eric, who I don't know, is he here? Stand up, Eric. Oh, where are you? No, he's not here. He just had a baby, so he's probably playing daddy. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Wow. So, can I please get, can I get our 13 speakers to stand up? And I'd like to just give them a really big, big round of applause. Stand up. I think you join. Good job. I think you join all of us in being incredibly proud today to be Haas. I'm not going to go through the summary of ideas because I know I'm standing out in front of between you and drinks, but just 3 things. I'm going to channel Rich Dean Lyons now. If you are as proud as I am of just being a part, I am not a Haas alum, but I'm really jealous to not be a Haas alum because these guys are phenomenal. Just please 3 things as per Rich Lyons to do. Connect with Haas, which might mean hire Haas. Please hire Haas. Engage with Haas, with your alumni networks, with each other. You know, you saw so many businesses today that actually got started here at Haas and in conjunction with other Haas alums. And finally, give to Haas, the Haas School's annual fund. It helps strengthen the Haas alumni network, which you both leverage and benefit from every single day, as did they. So I hope you've enjoyed your day today. Be decadent tonight. Be decadent right now. There are drinks out in the lobby. Thank you so very much, and go Bears.